and welcome to Level Up with CMJ. Hey, my name is Joan. This is my Craftsmaster dice shooting journey. Let's make it yours too. So get your dice out this morning, guys. We're going to be practicing our orange belt level. We have got 2 more sessions after today for the orange belt on the live sessions, and then we'll be moving on to the green belt, which I will hopefully be producing that video this coming weekend, so it'll be going up next week sometime. So I'm going to assume that you guys have done your stretches already, and let's get your dice out. Let's go through our dice grips. So we're just going to practice getting into our dice grip 10 times really fast. So you're going to set it up, use whatever grip is comfortable for you. Make sure that you're tight, make sure that you're square, make sure that you're set up and ready to go in your throwing position. If it's not comfortable, make sure you set it back down and you reset it. It's 2. Let's get some different color dice so it looks better on the video here. Four. It's 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And final one coming up. And 10. Okay, so now that we have our 10 dice grips in, let's go through our drop test. Again, with our drop test, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and release it without stopping it all. So we're going to start with our dice set down here in our grip. Make sure the dice are tight and square. And then we're going to come up and release the thumb and just drop them straight down. And if you get the thumb down seamlessly, try to release the thumb and the forefinger at the same time. Kind of like you're pointing down towards the other end. Good morning, Chris. How you doing? So we got 3. Let's go 2 more. And again, it's essential, guys, that you get this release, you get this drop test down, because if you get the drop test down, that's going to hopefully prevent those dice from splitting apart as they go down the table. So in other words, you're not pushing with your thumb. Okay, let's collect the dice and we'll move on. Okay, and then instead of going through and doing our dice setting today, we're going to do some finger drills, some dice manipulation drills. One of the things that you're doing is you're manipulating that dice to get to whatever dice set that you want. So one of the things that you can do to practice your drill is just rotating it back. So you just use your thumb, rotate it back. So let's say you have the axis that you want, the 5-4-5-4 axis, but I want to go with the 2-3-2-3 on top, or 2-3. The 2 on top, 3 on the front. So you can just rotate the dice to get to that. So just using your thumb. The other thing you can do is use 2 fingers to rotate it the other way. So you can do that type of manipulation. So it's thumb back. You can rotate it forward. The other thing you can do is you can do a twist. So all we're doing is just getting that the blood flowing through our hands, through our fingers, and getting used to manipulating the dice. You can also pinch the dice like this and use your middle finger or your ring finger if that's more comfortable, but you can use your middle finger to rotate the dice. So let's say that, let's say the 6 is up, but I know that I want the 5-4-5-4, so I can just rotate it through. You can go the opposite direction also by using your finger, your middle finger and your thumb, and then using your index to push it down. So these are all the different types of drills that you guys can do just to get used to manipulating the dice, so that way when you're at the table, you could do it pretty much without thinking. You rotate both ways, flip forward, backwards, um, spinning. I mean, you could do all these different types of things. And again, this is very important just to get so that you become fluent with the dice. So that's what we're doing today for our dice setting. Make sure that you guys, after the video here is done, make sure you go through and do this for a couple minutes. Okay, we're going to move on to our barrel tosses. We're not using our height tool right now, so we're just going to get set up in our dice grip with the barrel dice. And we're just going to toss down to the end of the table. Again, right now we're trying to get it kind of in a straight line, but it's not as important in a straight line until we go to a further step in the orange ball today. So today's video is kind of a repeat from yesterday, and tomorrow we're going to add on another step to the orange belt level. So we'll do that tomorrow. And I got to change my views so you guys can see where the dice are landing. I'm almost starting to feel like John a little bit here, because I was watching his throwing last night, and he was talking about all, his stacked dice set and how it works and how it lands and the goal of what the dice are and this and that. And he's talking about everything as if we're watching, but he actually had on screen, he had some writing. He had a spreadsheet, I think it was, showing his dice results. And it was kind of chuckled about that, because it's a common thing. You do your live streaming and mistakes like that happen because you're thinking about 1,000 other things as you're actually going through it. So let's go 2 more tosses with the barrel dice, and then we'll move on to the regular dice. And the last one, and we'll move on to the regular dice. Again, the goal of using the barrel dice here is to try to throw down so it stays square. The dice are not wobbling, and you can get a good true flight pattern through the air. So let's go to the regular dice. We're going to set the 5-4-5-4 hardway set. So this is where our finger drills came in. Get your dice grip, get into your throwing position, and you're going to throw it down, trying to keep the dice as tight as you can together and try to get it so they land flat at the end of the table. We have 5 of these tosses. And again, we're just trying to get down so it's flying square through the air. I'm not so worried about the landing zone right now. We will attack, or we will be addressing the landing zone in the green belt level, which is the next level, which we will be actually starting next week with our live streams. So that was 3. Let's go 2 more. That was a little bit crooked, but the dice stayed on axis. It was a 5-4-5-4 center field 9. And I was going through last night, and I was setting up the further levels of the dice program, of the belt program. Kind of excited for some of the things that I have planned in the future, some of the progress we're going to make. This was 4-2-6, still stayed on axis, so that's really good. So now we got the regular dice down. Let's pull the height tool out. And again, I have a mark at the halfway point of the table between the wall and my throwing position. And then I added 3 inches away from the wall further. So that's the center of the height tool. Remember, the height of the string is at 56 inches for the 12-foot table. That's about 4 feet, 8 inches from the floor. So we're going to go in. We're going to, with the barrel dice again. And now we're just going to try to throw down a table, so we're just clearing that string. And that was a little bit high. We got to the end of the table. It bounced with minimal energy, which is nice. And just put in the chats here if you could see the whole table, or if you just see where my hand is at. Um, it should be the whole table. If not, I don't know what's wrong because it's showing up weird here on my end. So that's with the barrel dice. Again, we're trying to get it so it flies squares and there's no wobble in the dice. That's 3. Let's go 2 more. And 1 more. That was actually not too bad. Thank you, Chris. So you can see the whole thing. So for some reason on my screen, on my YouTube screen, it's not showing the whole thing, even though I know I have it set up so it should be showing the whole thing. So thank you for verifying that for Chris. So that's the barrel dice there. Let's go through with the regular dice. Again, we're going to go about 5 or so right now. And we're just going to try to clear that string. When you're actually going through and you're doing your full practice, no, it's terrible, terrible, terrible throw. When you're actually going through and you're doing your full practice, what you want to do is you want to do 20 to 50 of your dice tosses. My other dice got stuck in my chip rack over there, so I'll grab another dice here. So you actually want to go through and do 20 to 50 with the barrel dice, 20 to 50 with the regular dice. And again, the whole reason we're doing this is we're trying to get muscle memory set up. We're trying to make this a constant so that way you could do this without thinking. And I'm getting to the point now where I could do that. And the reason I know this is because I'm actually talking so much and doing the throwing at the same time, which if you haven't tried that, guys, make sure that you do try that because that does add another element to the throw. We're using the 5-4-5-4 hardware set. So that way we can see if the dice are staying on axis as they go down the table. So in other words, if any number other than the 1 or 6 shows on top of the dice when they come to rest, then that means that they stayed on axis. When we get to the level after green is when we're going to actually start doing our throws. We're going to actually start recording the progress and that type of stuff. That's when it's going to be super important that you make the changes necessary. Terrible throw. That you make the changes necessary in order to make sure that the dice are staying on axis. And at that time, what I'll do is I will be announcing what the dice results are so that you guys can either play along. Thank you, Chris. You can either play along, you can either practice, you can play your strategies, you can record whatever the throws are for future use, whatever you want to do. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a new laser level here over the weekend, I think. But what we're doing is we're setting the laser level up now, and hopefully you guys can see that. So that is straight down the table and it's pointing right towards the landing zone that I want the dice to land at. Again, we'll go back to the barrel dice and now we're going to use the height tool so we just barely clear the string and it lands right by that laser level light. And that was a perfect throw, landed right on target. Again, I'm going to do about 5 or so of them for the live stream today. But when you're actually practicing, again, 20 to 50 is that magic number. And the reason I have such a variance in the total of 20 to 50 is that you want to get it a minimum of 20 times, but you want to get it till you get comfortable, until it becomes a pattern or a habit. Good morning, CRC. And you want to get it so that you could do a pretty much terrible throw, a little long. You want to get it so that you can do it without even thinking. So you can just do it by habit, basically. So let's go two more here. Now one was a little bit left. So we're trying to get it so it lands right down by that laser level. And I have my laser level set up so straight down that pass line. And it's just so it's on the outside the mixing bowl. So the mixing bowl ends right about here. And my laser level light is about an inch or two to the left of that mixing bowl, of the hook on the table. I think one of the benefits of doing that is when you throw it down, a lot of people will either set their chips up here, which is not in this area, or they'll be standing on the end of the table and they'll be putting their chips over in here. So there's a lot of times a little vacant area right in that corner of the table, which should hopefully give you a straight line or a straight landing zone right down at the end. So, okay, so we got the barrel dice done. Let's go back to our regular dice now. And again, we still have the laser light on, still pointed down towards our landing zone. We're going to set the 5-4-5-4 hardware set, which is our base set for this dice shooting program, for the level up program. And that was way right. What happened there is I kind of swung my arm over towards the side of the wall when I was throwing. And we're going to cover that a little bit in George's corner in just a little bit on what you're trying to do when you do that forward swing. There you go. That was good. Dice did not land square though. They actually crossed when they landed. And that's stuff that we're going to have to be looking for in future belt levels, watching the actions of the dice and what is going on with them, so that way we can analyze our throws at the table and it can become second nature. That was a pretty good throw. So that way it can become second nature. So again, less thinking, more constants, and you can make the adjustments that you need to do. And that is something also that we'll be doing in future belt levels. And it is one of the things I was actually working on last night on setting up for when we get to that point. That one was actually really nice. Very minimal energy at the dice when it hit the table. Again, 5-4-5-4 hardware set. The one thing that the last dice did to it landed nice, it looked nice, it sounded nice, except I double pitched to give me a 4-3, which is one of the things that happens, terrible throw, which is one of the things that does happen with this hardware set. If you double pitch, a 7 will show up, whether it be a 5-2, 2-5, 4-3, or 3-4. So last one here, guys, and then we will be going on to George's corner. Good. That was a good ending there. Okay, let's go to George's corner. Let's see what George has to say today. So yesterday we were talking about the toss for George's corner, and he was talking about the backswing, how he does 2 inches for 1 count. So if he goes back 2 inches, he counts to 1, 4 inches will be 2, and then he goes to the forward swing. And that's where we're going to pick up the conversation today. So he goes, note that if you're tossing the dice towards the center of the table or towards the opposite hook landing zone, you need to create a notion flight path in your mind and follow it with your backswing through to the point of releasing the dice. Make sure that you do not exaggerate your toss by overextending your arm, but instead release at a low level before your arm reaches full extension. full extension of your arm will cause your muscles to create a recoil action, which looks like another tremor of the arm. This will upset the release and the synchronization of the dice, leading to one dice traveling ahead of the other and potentially out of rotational sync. So what George is talking about there is with your release, you want to make sure that, first of all, if we're throwing, and we're not throwing in a straight line like I am showing you guys to do right now, but you're actually throwing down towards the center of the table. So you're throwing down towards the center of the table here, or to the opposite hook. What you want to do is you want to set up in your mind a straight path between your release point and where it's going to be landing. So that's something, it's like a non-visual line. It's a make-believe line that you're setting up. So that's one thing that you want to do for that. But what he's also saying here, guys, is when you're releasing the dice, make sure that you are at a point below your maximum height. So my maximum height is right about here. I should be releasing the dice somewhere in here. So that way what happens is if you get close to your maximum height, your muscles are gonna, your antagonistic muscles are gonna actually kick in. It's actually gonna pull the dice down, which is opposite of what you wanna do, because when you release the dice, your hand should be following through as you release with that thumb. And that's kind of why we do our drop tests also, so you can practice releasing with the thumb in it. But if you can follow through and release the dice, it's going to help keep that path going through in a straight manner. He also mentioned that if you release at the top point, what's going to happen is you're going to push one dice ahead of the other one. So they're going to fly through the air with one dice leading the other one, and it's going to be kind of counterproductive to what we're trying to do, because when we're throwing it out down a table, we're trying to keep them as tight as we can, as even as we can, and rotating on the same pattern as we can. So something to consider, guys, with George's Corner. Let's go over to our homework corner now. So for homework today, guys, after we're done here, again, I'm going to go through and I'm going to finish all my throws, but you want to make sure that you do your warm-ups. You want to do your 10 dice grips, your 3 to 5 drop tests. Instead of doing the dice setting today, we're going to go through and do your finger drills, the dice manipulation drills that I showed you guys. Do that for a couple minutes until it starts feeling comfortable going through them. And then you want to go through 5 barrel tosses without the height tool, 5 tosses with the regular dice without the height tool. And then you're going to pull the height tool out, set it up, get it into proper position. You're going to go through 20 to 50 throws of the barrel dice, making sure that everything's square, flying decent through the air. You're going to go through 20 to 50 throws of the regular dice with the height tool. And then bring out your laser level and repeat that process with the barrel dice as well as with the regular dice. What we're going to do is tomorrow we're going to add on one more step to our orange belt level. And then we're going to do that for the last 2 days. And then next week, we're going to be switching over to the green belt level. And again, like I said a little bit ago, I'm going to try to film that green belt video this weekend, and I'll get it up next week sometime, so that way you guys can see the entire green belt as I have it set up. The live practices, we're going to be breaking the green belt down into steps, and we'll be working through that. Our green belt, so far the white belt and the yellow belt, the yellow belt and the orange belt has been 2 weeks worth of live streams. For the green belt, we're going to go with 3 weeks worth of live streams because we're adding more stuff to the program, but it's going to be very vital that we get that information down before we move forward and we start recording our throws. So, guys, again, remember, super chats, super thanks, super stickers if you guys are interested. I do appreciate all the stuff. All the money that does come into the videos here is spent on equipment and future projects. But anyhow, Everybody have a great day. My name is Joan. This is my Crapsmaster Dice Shooting Journey. Let's make it yours too.